Hello? Is this thing on? Of course it's on. It's always on. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Justice League Revisited, where we take you on a merry jaunt through one of the greatest animated series to ever grace screens, large or small, depending on the size of your TV. I'm one half of your hosting team, James Enstall, host of Geek to Me Radio. And on the other side of the Zoom screen, joining me with her glasses firmly set, her drink in hand, ready to take on our guest, we have the voice of Wonder Woman, Susan Eisenberg. How are you?
I'm well, and you're adorable. You really are. That was a very cute intro. No, that was a cute intro. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm thrilled to talk to our guest today. You want to tell the kids who's going to be on?
Super excited for making his Justice League Revisited debut, Henry Gilroy, the writer of Kid Stuff. So I know you're thinking to yourself, well, hold on. You just covered Kid Stuff last episode with Joaquim Dos Santos. Yeah, but A, it's an episode that deserves being revisited more than once. And B, when you've got the writer, when you have a chance to talk to the writer, you take it. So yes, Henry Gilroy, who wrote the episode Kid Stuff, will be joining us for today's broadcast.
And I have to say, I reached out to him on social media, on his Instagram account. And, I mentioned it to him. And he was like, oh, my God, that sounds so fun. I was like, I love that. So all of our guests should be so easy to get.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? Looking at you, Dakota Fanning. I mean, come on. Try as we might.
Right?
I even sent her agent an edible arrangement. Come on. What more do you want, Dakota Fanning?
Oh, man. We don't even have a budget.
I know. That came right out of our petty cash. And believe me, all our cash is petty. Trust me. But enough about our financial situation. This episode, I'm so excited to cover this one again. So for those of you, first of all, every episode of this podcast might be someone's first episode. So welcome if it is. And the good news is you've got a ton of back catalog to go through. For those of you who might just be tuning into this one, we are covering the third episode of the first season of Justice League Unlimited. This is written by, as we mentioned, our guest today, Henry Gilroy, directed by Joaquim Dos Santos, last episode's guest, so make sure you go back and listen to that one as well. The voice cast in this one is so much fun because you've got Susan Eisenberg as Wonder Woman. You've got Kevin Conroy as Batman. You've got John Stewart, Green Lantern, voiced by none other than Phil Lamar. And of course, bringing us the voice of Superman, we have George Newbern. But wait, there's more. We have Kyle Alcazar voicing young Batman, Shane, and I really hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Habuka as young Superman. We have Mark John Jeffries as a young Green Lantern, and the aforementioned Dakota Fanning as young Wonder Woman. D. Bradley Baker voices Blockbuster, adult Mordred, and baby Etrigan. We have Soren Fulton as the normal, who you have been taking on in the episode, not the old one, but the current Mordred. We have Olivia Dabo reprising her role as Morgan Le Fay, Ashley Edner as May, Cheryl Lee Ralph as Cheetah, and Jose Yenke as Copperhead, rounding out the cast.
Yeah, it's such a good cast. I mean, I wish we could have more of them on. As you're listing all those names, I'm like, wow, such talent.
Yeah.
Such talent. It's funny, when you started talking about the episode, you said this episode, and it sounded like you were about to say is sponsored by, and I thought, God, if only we were sponsored by somebody.
Brought to you by In-N-Out Burger. That's right. Enjoy your In-N-Out Burger on the go as you plug in your earbuds and listen to our wonderful podcast on your platform of choice. In-N-Out Burger, the choice of people everywhere.
So if there are any people out there who want to sponsor us, please. Yeah, please. We wouldn't say no, right?
No. We'll take a shoe insert. It doesn't matter. Dr. Scholes wants to sponsor us. That's fine. We'll have Michael Rosenbaum do the thing. Dr. Scholes is the only one I can keep up with my super speed. Whatever. We'll figure it out.
Hey, we're writing the copy, people.
Right.
We're writing the copy. I can do the voice. James can do the voice. Come on.
Wouldn't it be great if someone like Guy Ardelli sponsored us and they paid us in their salted sea salt caramel dark chocolate squares?
Okay, so I have to tell you, for that product, I have auditioned for that product quite a few times.
No kidding.
Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, well, I don't remember, but I have auditioned for it a lot, for that, the one that was this really, you know what I'm saying.
The luxurious chocolate and the caramel dripping down into the nice ripple. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, well,
I know.
reach out to their people. Have your people reach out to their people and see if they want to come on and sponsor the show.
As soon as I get people, I will do it. I promise. Any day now. All right. So should we get to it?
Yeah.
Should we grab them out of the green room?
Yeah, I know our chocolate. It's not Ghirardelli. We have Mars candy bars in the green room. If there's any left, because Dan Reba likes to have those with his martinis. He calls it his M&M, his Mars bar and his martini as he sits in there. But yeah, let's go send our intern in. Hey, Ryan, could you? No, that not the stapler. No, go into the green room and grab Henry. He's the only one in the green room. Ryan, come on, Ryan. All right, Susan, we need to get rid of Ryan. He's really giving me trouble lately.
Okay. Yeah. So good.
There's no Ryan, folks. There's no green room, but that's okay because in the green room, in the Zoom screen is what I should say. We have joining us right now Henry Gilroy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
This is so exciting.
I know we love having the writers. This is like a treat for us because you and I reached out to you, I think, on social media, and I mentioned that we had this podcast, James and I, and that we'd love to have you on. And you were like, "Oh my God, that sounds so fun!" I thought, okay, this is my kind of guy. Like, you think that sounds fun? Yes, it is going to be fun. Please come on and talk to us. And you're like, sure. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, yeah, no, you're welcome. My pleasure. I've worked on a bunch of, I'll say, bigger franchises, and I've done a podcast here and there, but I don't do a lot of them. But, I will always say yes to a fellow pro, and member of like a cast or a crew or I want to say the makers of the show.
Well, thank you. And what was the bigger franchise? No, I did. What do you mean? It's funny because I saw, I researched you before you were coming on, and I saw, you've worked for, so many different companies, and which was your favorite? No.
Right with the
well,
hard.
I will say this. I will say that, Susan, you're always my Wonder Woman in the animated form. So yeah, like the strength you bring to the character and there's like a humanness, and how to like put the double entendre on. Like there's so much great stuff that you bring to the character. Because I know every time, more recently, I think when they do like a straight to video movie or whatever, it's a different person. Yes. And I'm going, okay, it's the same thing for Batman or whatever. It's like, like I was at Warner Brothers Animation in '89, so I was there during the Batman animated, the beginning of it all. I knew Bruce and Tim and Eric Radomski on Tiny Toons, which was a show we were working on before Batman the Animated Series. And Bruce went from storyboard artist right to producer. Wow. And Eric Radomski, who designed the whole Dark Deco, look in the backgrounds, he was a background painter. And then he went right to producer. So it was pretty awesome to be there. And actually, I have a great story for you. People don't know this. I was actually working in editorial at the time, so I was trying to get into writing, but I was 20. I was 6 years old. No, but I was in my early 20s, and I was a sound editor, and I was helping Bruce and Eric put together the promo, the kind of proof of concept for their Batman animated series. So Bruce had done these amazing designs. He kind of took the Fleischer Superman and made a Batman version of it. And Eric did this amazing, like Dark Deco, spooky background style. And so we did like a 2-minute promo or whatever. And I as a sound editor, I recut the music from like Danny Elfman's soundtrack.
That's great.
And then we realized like, so we have a great music score, but there's no voices really in it. Except when we actually were mixing it, we're like, Batman punches these guys. So we need somebody to do like get punched by Batman. So Bruce and Eric go, okay, they'll go in. So they went in the booth and did the whatever. And they go, hey, wait, Batman gets punched there. It's like, well, since Bruce and Eric already did a voice, they go, Henry, get in here and you be Batman. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. So technically,
yes,
I'm the very first voice of Batman in the Batman series.
And isn't that promo what they ended up using for the intro to am I correct?
Yeah, very close. That was exactly. I think they had to cut it down from 90 seconds or whatever it was down to like 55 or whatever. But it's the same thing. And then the music obviously was also created by Danny Elfman. He came in and did that the Batman animated series theme as a, hey, we want to keep this consistent kind of thing. So anyway, that's one of my Batman stories.
Wow.
I remember a couple of times when Kevin wasn't in town and I would have to read my lines with Bruce Timm.
Oh, it's Crash.
And it was so fun because his name is Bruce, obviously, and I'd be talking to Bruce.
Oh, that's great.
It was really fun. It was really fun. And I mean, of course, he was my boss, so it wasn't that fun. But, because it was just so nerve-wracking. But there was something delightful about, looking across and it being Bruce Timm, as your Batman.
That's funny. Yeah. And Bruce has this unnerving quality. I've known Bruce, well, obviously since the Tiny Toon days, but he has this way of making you anxious. I'm not sure what it is. And I think because he's nervous,
yes.
A lot. He makes other people nervous. But he's a sweetheart. He's awesome dude.
And I think the energy in a room really depends on the showrunner. Like the showrunner sets the tone, right? And so I can't tell you how many people would leave, our show and say, I don't think he liked me. He and I'm like, no, that's his resting face.
That's it.
His resting face is basically.
I hate you. His resting face is, I hate you.
I was going to be more profane, but yes, that's better. That's better. So we always ask people who join us how they got started. Because we all have these ideas of what we want to do,
right.
And. So we asked people, how did you get into the industry? What was, and it doesn't have to be every detail, but if you could just share your trajectory into where you, from you saying, I think I want to, and to, to explain how you got here.
So I hope this is like a 12-part Henry Gilroy thing. Cause I'll start when I'm 5 and I bought
Henry Gilroy, the early
63.
years.
Right, exactly. The Chiron will say Henry Gilroy, the early years. Perfect, James. Perfect.
Marvel team up, 63, Spider-Man and Human Torch team up to fight the Super Skrull. Anyway, that was my first comic I bought. But when I got that comic, I was on a road trip with some friends and I must have read that comic 30 times or something. But it was like, oh, I want to live in this world. I want to live in the world of superheroes and all of that. And then I really loved animation. Obviously, the old Super Friends series, Thundar the Barbarian. Besides the Warner Brothers stuff, my stepmom at the time, she'd actually gotten a job as a feature editor at Disney, and she taught me how to track read, which is, I don't know if you remember, the old school is you basically break down the phonetics of everything that everyone says, or all the characters say, so that then they can assign lip assignments to animate to them. Okay. So my job is to say, oh, there's an A sound on frame 5, and then there's a T sound, on frame 7, and all the way down. So that I really learned, and I got a job at Warner Brothers Animation. Before then, I had been a freelance track reader. I started doing it when I was 17 years old. So I was working on the Real Ghostbusters and all kinds of stuff. The great thing about learning story this way is I'm reading a lot of times off storyboards. So I'm not learning story from a literary standpoint. I'm actually learning it visually, which I think is really a big help to animation specifically, because if you start an editorial from story, you learn how the sausage is made from the front of the sausage, right? From pre-production all the way through production, and then editorial, which is the back of it. So that's kind of how I got in. And I wanted to write, and I thought I had something to say. When you're 22, it's hard. What do you have to say, really? And so I was track reading at Warner Brothers Animation. It was my first studio job, and Bruce and Eric got their opportunity. And at night, after I'd finished editing, I'd go to screenwriting classes at UCLA Extension, and
I was probably there taking my voiceover classes.
Probably.
Extension.
Absolutely. Yes. It was such a great program. And I'd like to hear about that. Who taught that, by the way?
I didn't like him. So I'm not going to mention his name. I did not like him. He was he was a jerk. But he, I learned what I could, but he didn't,
You know what's weird is I know that some of those guys who teach those classes, they're jerks, and the reason they're teaching classes is because no one will hire them anymore. You know, have you ever noticed that?
And he had that job forever, the
Oh,
specific
interesting.
one at the extension.
Oh,
So
huh.
yeah,
Okay.
not, just not a supportive bloke. But anyway,
Oh, okay.
we'll talk more about me later.
Yeah, that's it. I want to know more.
This is
So,
your interview, Henry.
so going to night school, doing track reading. I worked on Tiny Toon Adventures. I track read all 100 episodes of that. And when Bruce and Eric got the show, just because they weren't like in the producers, I tried to break into writing on Tiny Toons, and the producer's like, "Oh, you're an editor. You're not a writer. I'm not. No, get out of here, kid." Where Bruce and Eric, especially Bruce, because he had this, as you know, his photographic memory of comic books, we could have a conversation about it because I grew up reading comic books. That was a part of our friendship, was our love of comics. Every Wednesday, actually, half the studio, you might have heard this before, Dan Reba, all of the other directors, we would go to comic books, get lunch, and go buy comic books down the street at one.
Never heard that, and I love that. So
every Wednesday, and actually, this was probably like ritual for about 25 years. So even though when Bruce like moved from Sherman Oaks, where Warner Brothers Animation was there, like in the 90s, over to the lot, and then like the ranch building, we would still meet. We would meet at a different comic book shop. So I think it was Forbidden Planet in Sherman Oaks.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, and then it was House of Secrets down there in Burbank.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So this, and then it would be lunch, every week for dozens of years. So anyway, so that's how I kind of got in, and it was really still hard to sell stories. So I think probably every day when production was starting to ramp up, I would basically put story ideas underneath Bruce's door, like for some, and finally, because I'd never sold a script before, I didn't even have a spec really. I think at the time, my printer was a dot matrix printer, because I was like, I wasn't a professional writer yet, and the professional writers would laugh at me like, oh, that's how you know a writer's amateur if he has a dot matrix printer, not like a laser jet, So anyway, so Bruce finally said, oh, I like this story, do this story. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And so it was kind of proved by him, and I started writing it even before I think the story editor came on, which was Sean Catherine Derrick at the time. And so it was my first animation script, and it was on like this amazing show that would be groundbreaking. And that script was Nothing to Fear, the Batman Scarecrow episode. Yeah. Ironically, which has the quote, the famous Kevin Conroy quote, I am the night, I am vengeance, I am Batman.
Which he used to say at every comic.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Which is so funny because people's like, you wrote that? And I'm like, well, kind of. I took a piece of it from the comic books, but some of it's me. So I was, still teaching myself to write back then. So that's how I got in. And definitely my experience in making animation from the physical side, and seeing how it came together, it was a huge help. And it really helped me get along with a lot of animation artists, because they went, oh, you think about this visually, and like you're not writing stuff that's impossible for us to draw because you've been around it long enough, and plus comics, to see like, okay, here's something that I can write that will inspire the artist, because that's really my job as a screenwriter of animation. I try to tell people that your job is to inspire the artist to want to draw this story. What language, how can you be concise and describe what happens, not direct too much on the page, but just enough to make it clear about, what you need, but also put in those things that just make them have fun, so.
Do you remember the script then for kid stuff with, because there's so much that goes on. I mean, just turning what looks like Disneyland into this horrifying kingdom. Do you remember, were you very descriptive? Or by this point, now you'd worked on Batman, you worked on Tiny Toons. When you got to this point, you're on Unlimited. I assume there was a little bit more of a shorthand between you and the storyboard people and the artists and everything, where you didn't need to say as much, even for a very visually inspired story like this one.
Yeah, so this is a funny story too. So technically, I was not supposed to be allowed to write this script because I was on staff at Disney. So
Oh,
during this period, I was working on, I think I finished the Bionicle movies. I'd written a couple of those, but I was working on House of Mouse, then Lilo and Stitch, and then I did some Kim Possible work. So I was actually on staff during this period at Disney, and I had like said, Bruce, I got to work on Justice League, and so I came over and had lunch with Bruce and Dwayne McDuffie and Dan Reba, the entire crew, and we kind of broke this story at lunch. I'd pitched them an idea like, oh, what if the Justice League characters get turned into kids? And they're like, oh, that's hilarious. And then Bruce was never quite sold on it. He was like, I don't know, it's kind of dumb, like, how they're like,
yeah. And we've heard other
know.
people say that, like when they pitch something, Bruce is like, I don't know, I'm not sure,
Uh-huh.
and then he does it, and it's like, wow, yeah, okay, yeah, it worked.
And even after Kid Stuff came out, well, I'll get to that later. But anyway, so we kind of broke this story at lunch and came up with a lot of the funny bits, and then I went off to write it. And it was a pleasure working with Dwayne McDuffie and Stan Berkowitz, and I already had a shorthand with Bruce. So yeah, so I was disappointed I didn't get to write more Wonder Woman because you just kind of have a few lines at the beginning of the episode,
Yes.
and then you have to make way for this nobody Dakota Fanning, like who played
Who?
Wonder Woman.
Um,
Girl Wonder Woman.
I know. And, it's so, okay. So I want to tell you, as the writer, there are so many people who mention this episode to me. It is a fan fave, hands down. People talk about it all the time because people always use the word adorable. It's so adorable. They're so adorable. and, and it takes people by surprise that we did not voice the younger actors.
Right.
The younger characters, and people are like, that wasn't you, and I'm like, first of all, I'm not that talented. Secondly, it was Dakota Fanning, and that's brilliant that it was her. But James, like, isn't this an episode you hear a lot about? Because I do. People love this episode.
Yeah, usually in the chats, whenever this one comes up, people are like, oh, this is easily top 5 episodes of the series.
That's awesome to hear. And what's weird is whenever I do a signing at a convention, at least one time, every time someone comes up and says, "Oh my gosh, you did Kid Stuff," and I love Kid Stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like and I always I always laugh because when the show came out, there was some DC bulletin board forum or whatever. The hardcore Justice League nerds hated it.
Really?
They wanted dark, and they said, "Oh, it's so stupid." Blah 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 blah. And Bruce immediately called me to say, "You ruined my show." I knew I should have said no to that.
Way to be supportive.
He says the fans hate it, and I go, I don't know. Do all the fans hate it? Because it's kind of pretty funny and it's beautifully animated, and it's really tight, and then later, years later, he was like, "Okay, it's a good show." It's good. It works,
It aged really, really well. I mean, and it has that great line that Batman says, about never really being a kid.
Yeah, him being a kid since I was 8 years old, or
right
to that effect.
Right, and people quote that all the time. I mean, so it really resonated with the fans, and I think that they got a kick out of seeing these really tough. Iconic superheroes just being kids, being goofy, and the whole Batman, the Wonder Bat fans, that's the ship name, that, I loved how you brought that into the kids storyline where Batman,
oh yeah, your girlfriend's really bossy.
Yeah,
right.
I loved that.
I had a blast with that. There was even more of it, it's funny, that last scene and even the original approved script by Bruce, because I think the kids had were chewing gum, and I think Batman had a piece of gum, and it was like the sort of thing that like you'd never see Batman,
Right.
but the kid like. So we were like thinking like, oh, like maybe he like holds on to the gum. Like I think it was one of them gave him a piece of gum or something during the episode, but it got cut. But we were gonna kind of keep that moment like, oh, maybe he would, hang on to this piece of gum. Like, oh, right, yeah, I was just a kid again, but I lost that. I
Uh-huh.
lost that part of myself. But anyway, yeah, it's so funny that stuff that kind of you probably hear this from all the writers that gets cut versus what stays in.
Actually, we haven't heard too much of
Not a
that.
lot of that, no.
And it's fascinating to think of scenes that were there, but just got cut for whatever reason, time, whatever. So yeah. but also I do think seeing somebody like Batman, especially because he's so tough, and seeing him as a child, I think fans couldn't get enough of that. And I love how much you put into how much we see in this, 22 minutes of show. It just had everything in it. And I also love the entire cast. I mean, I think it was great because it was, for me, it was fun to just be part of the Trinity. And that was like a kick.
Oh, uh-huh.
But we talked about, well, I mean, the other actors, and I mean, it was just terrific in that regard. I mean, the acting was always top notch anyway. Andrea Romano always got the best.
She is the best, yeah.
But it was just so, so, so well done. And yeah, I personally, even though, like you say, I was only in like the very beginning and the very end, I love this episode.
That's awesome. I love to hear that because, yeah, I mean, have there been other episodes where like somebody else kind of took over the reins? Because it's kind of gives you a chance to kind of take a step back and kind of watch the character.
Totally.
Right?
And Dakota
cool.
was in the session with me. I remember her sitting
Oh,
across
wow.
from me.
Okay.
And
that's awesome.
Awesome, right?
Yeah.
Because and that was always the case. We were always there, everybody together. But in a situation like that, where somebody's playing a younger version of you, I think she even was like doing in the session, a little bit of mimicry, like in terms of her expressions. It was just adorable. Like, I mean, obviously none of that was going to show up, but it was just her process. She was terrific. What happened to her? Anything?
I think she's.
I don't know. I haven't heard.
I think she's a small elk farm somewhere in North Dakota now, from what I understood. I looked her up. It seems very cool. She gives tours. It's fun.
I hope she's happy.
One of the things I loved was Batman constantly needling Mordred, calling him precious. I was like, it's almost like something Nightwing would do, kind of the little quippy things that Robin or Dick would do, which I think was really cool that young Bruce was picking that up. When you're writing those lines, was that ever in your head? It's like, oh, he's, is this them at that age? They still have all their experiences though. So was he kind of mimicking Dick a little bit? Because normally Bruce isn't that quippy at all. So where did that kind of idea come from?
I think the idea because we kind of talked about that, like you're basically put into this kind of right on puberty, like preteen, you're a 12, 13-year-old kid suddenly. So suddenly all the chemistry is different and it's affecting your brain. So even though technically you're still that person, your body isn't, and your brain isn't. Your mind might be, but you're totally being affected by that. So that's why we kind of like have him go, oh, like he'll be acting on impulse. That's something you probably wouldn't have said, or he would like wait to say it. But it's because we kind of set up in this episode that Mordred and Morgana, like they had a previous encounter with Batman.
Yeah.
Like in the Batman animated series. And I think it's with Etrigan, right? It's with the demon. So we wanted to touch on that a little bit and have that callback. So Precious is that callback, like, oh, I know this is something that gets him, because even though he's still a kid, he's tired of being a kid, right? Like that's like something underneath him. So I think the callback actually came from Bruce. He's like, oh yeah, he should call him Precious here. Oh, so I was like, oh, that's perfect. So yeah. So then at the end, when he's needling him, it's like, oh yeah, you're still a mama's boy, Precious. It's like, oh, that's something that he's really like hitting him with. So yeah, I can't take credit for Precious. That's Bruce.
There's so many great lines. I mean, my gosh. We talked about this. We had Joaquin DeSantis on last episode talking about this this very episode because we knew I'm like, we have to revisit this one twice because there's a lot to unpack and everybody has such fun with this one. So yeah, this is great.
Awesome.
And this was Baby Etrigan too, right? That was
yeah. Uh-huh. Yes.
With Kevin voicing the mommy. That was great.
So freaking cute. I mean, were you able to watch this recently? Like, have you seen this?
I did. I watched it in preparation for this. I was going, God, this episode really stands up.
It does.
I'm not sure about the logic of Baby Etrigan, but I love it.
Oh my gosh. I mean, marketing, really. I mean, that should have been.
Oh, right.
We talked about
brilliant.
Baby Etrigan versus Baby Yoda. We should have had those in the stores, Baby Etrigan dolls.
He was adorable. Like, I immediately fell for him. He was adorable. Loved him. I'm so curious, though, that was there an issue at all with Disney, you doing this episode? Why you were under contract?
I mean, I think at the time that's when they had like exclusive contracts. I think I was, but I did it anyway because I didn't care, Okay. I think that's probably why I only got to do one. I definitely would have done as many Justice League as I could. Right at that time too, I'd written the Bionicle movies, the Lego Bionicle movies. Do you know those movies? Okay.
Oh yeah.
So, I'm sorry.
I said, oh yeah. No,
okay.
I've seen at least two of them. So.
Oh, awesome. Okay, good. You saw the good ones.
This is the thing, Henry. There's nothing you could mention that James will not know.
I know. I was looking at this guy's credits. I'm like, he knows everything.
He knows everything.
He's pretty amazing.
I know nothing, and he knows everything. So it's just brilliant. He saves my tush all the time on the show.
So the scene when the super babies, the Justice babies show up. And Motors laughing at them or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's that kid who's like, I want toys or whatever. And then the toys manifest, the action figures manifest. And then Mildred turns them into these giant armored robot things. That was Bruce going, oh yeah, those are going to be your Bionicles. Because I just came off the Bionicle movies. And the original designs look just like Bionicles. And I think they said, Bruce, we're going to get sued by Lego. You can't do that.
Oof.
So I think a lot of the designs seem similar. He just changed the colors so that they wouldn't come off as the Bionicles. So he's like, oh yeah, make them Bionicles because you just wrote Bionicles. So I thought it was funny.
Batman versus Bionicles. That's a crossover I think we needed.
Exactly. I love that battle sequence where Wonder Woman saves Batman's butt. It's kind of awesome. So
I liked it too.
This was one of those. Sorry. Go ahead, Susan.
No, and I wish you had gotten a chance to write more. That would have been, judging from this episode and how much I loved it, I would have, really appreciated you writing more of these episodes.
Oh, thank you. You know how this business is? You get typecast, and I think because I was on staff at Disney and I just come off the Mickey Don Goofy show, and I had even though I'd done Bionicle, I hadn't really done the hard, action adventure. I was working on Timon and Pumbaa and Lilo and Stitch, which are more action comedies, right? And I'd always tried to straddle the line and stay flexible because ideally when you can put some humor into the Justice League. I think a lot of people remember this episode because it's funny.
It is.
It's the premise is kind of funny, but then the execution is still exciting and there's still danger in it, and there is high stakes, so it has all that stuff. So definitely me leaving Disney in 2005 was to go work at Lucasfilm on Clone Wars was okay. I'm done with the cartoony stuff. I'm going to do something and show that I can tell these big, epic, mythic stories.
Yeah.
And so, after that, then I got a chance to do, the G.I. Joe stuff, the Ultimate Spider-Man stuff, Avengers, and then back to Rebels and work on shows that definitely had a deeper mythic storytelling where people get killed. Which after working at Disney TV animation, Saturday morning, it's softer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh God,
it's,
yes.
it's you're doing, action is, it's comedy. It's slapstick more.
Yeah, our show had there was some real darkness to it.
Yeah.
And we've commented on that quite a few times.
The very next episode after this one, Hawk and Dove, was like, oh, wow, we needed that little
Dark.
palate cleanser of kids stuff before we go into Hawk and Dove. So it's like, wow.
Oh my gosh, it's like, Hawk and Dove is like, it's like Kosovo, right?
Yeah.
Like it's pretty obvious, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is a war, and people are getting killed because tanks are getting just exploded and stuff. So yeah, it is but I think the best shows do that.
Absolutely.
They give you a wide variety of tone rather than just the same thing.
And I will say, I think one of the reasons your episode worked so well too is that at this point in Unlimited, people knew these characters so well. Mm-hmm. And they had spent time with these characters. So to see them as these kids and hear these lines coming out of their mouths, it was true to who they became. Mm-hmm. And I think people really got such a kick out of that.
Yeah, I wrote down so many of the lines that were here. Like, I love Batman's line. It's very memeable, too, because there's actually a GIF that I'll use all the time when someone's trying to beat me to something, of everyone zoring by and Batman going, "It's not a race," as he tries to catch up. Little lines like that. And I love that when Etrigan's diaper goes and they go, "Oh, now this is a job for Superman." Pass baby Etrigan to Clark. There's so many great lines in this. I mean, my gosh.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a pleasure to write because we really could just play with the characters and the idea of the characters, and kind of use those things. One of the things I really did love is Batman, who is still just a kid. He's just a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, when he gets hit, I'm like, I even asked Bruce at one time, like when Batman gets thrown here, wouldn't he die? Like, he's just a 12-year-old. He gets like walloped, and I think that's kind of like what's awesome about him basically tricking Mordred at the end into casting the spell or breaking the spell is it's like, oh, he's still Batman though, mm-hmm. and he's clever enough to outwit the guy who has the most power. So I think that was like the one thing I was adamant about in my pitch was Batman's got to be the one who outsmarts this kid.
Yeah.
And so you said earlier that you were in the room with Dwayne and Dan, and was Stan there?
Stan was there. Yeah, we did a big lunch. And we kind of sat around and talked about like what could, what funny bits could be in there. And because I was working at Disney, Bruce said you have to make a Disneyland. So
that makes sense.
And I'm like, actually, I can kind of make it evil Disneyland. He's like, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be evil Disneyland. I love this because, But so sitting around kind of talking with the guys and everyone's so collaborative. And I think there is something about these characters, and, it's the same with some of the Marvel kind of Spider-Man, right? Hulk, and, Lucas with the Anakin and Obi-Wan. Like, it's never about me. It's I've always tried to put my abilities and skills in service to the story. So it's not my vision of Star Wars, or it's not my vision of, Spider-Man series I worked on or whatever. It's like, no, I'm gonna remember what inspired me when I was young, mm-hmm. and try to tell the best stories I can without compromising the characters to a personal vision, but the bringing out the truest essence of the character in this particular show, whether it's a funnier version or it's a more serious version, or even in a particular story. I kind of tried to do the same thing when I was on Rebels. Is I had kind of three kinds of stories. I had the family stories of the Rebels. Then we had Empire stories, which were kind of like, the epic fight of, good versus evil. And then we had the mystical stories of the Jedi versus the Sith. So you can, just like this story, it's a story about magic. You can tell those different kinds of stories with their morality tales or whatever, like kind of like you guys did in the Hawk and Dove story, which is really about the awfulness of war, right? This is really about it's the loss of youth. I mean, thematically, like it's really a grown up story, but it's a what if story too.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it resonates with a lot of people, especially adults, because it's a lot of times it's the adults who come to me and go, "Oh my gosh, I love that episode. It stuck with me," and it's because of don't squander your youth, enjoy it, and then or you're going to end up like Mudred, who's like old and his mom's wiping his mouth.
Oh gosh, that ending, man. It's interesting too. I mean, there's so many questions I want to ask you, and I don't want to run out of time. But one of the things I was curious about, we see Grundy and Copperhead and Cheetah show up. Was there a reason? This may be a nothing question, but was there any reason that those particular villains were selected? Was it something about those villains and the last time we saw them, or was there any thought to having any other villains in that? I'm just asking because Susan and I just talked about the episode where Giganta and Bizarro show up and Wonder Woman's fighting them in Ultimatum. We're like, oh, that's kind of a weird, those two characters. So my question is, was there a reason those specific characters were picked for this episode?
No. Honestly, I think it came down to some of those decisions, are based on like toy sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, no, it's true. Like,
yes, of course it is.
It's when I was on Spider-Man, like I had to put a villain in 3 episodes to justify him getting a toy, an action figure. If he wasn't in 3, they wouldn't even think about it. So ideally 5 episodes is like, okay, we can't do another freaking Goblin episode. Like
you can always do more Goblin episodes, but that's another story.
Okay. So I think we did that one time where it's like Spider-Man goes to visit him in prison. So it's one scene where it's a Hannibal Lecter thing, right? Like it's like, I don't know him. And then, but he's in the episodes.
Right.
But a lot of times that's dictated, but for reasons you don't know. When you're writing, it's like, oh, have them be this particular. And sometimes it'll be, oh, remember there's some ancient weird comic book where Copperhead and was it Blockbuster?
Oh yeah, it was Blockbuster. I said Grundy, but you're right. It was Blockbuster.
Yeah,
Cheetah,
Blockbuster.
and,
Cheetah, and some of it had to do with these are classic adversaries to these particular, like to the Big Four.
Sure, it makes sense.
So I think that's a part of it, and also it was like we wanted this opening battle just so we had real Justice League action for a little bit. We don't want to break the promise of the series to the fans.
Right.
So it's like, it's 2-minute sequence, and then we want to get them out as soon as we can. So it's that.
And was there any particular thought in the reason for having it be Green Lantern versus Flash or Hawk Girl or anyone else?
That's a good question. I actually think I pitched Flash. I think I originally had Flash, and because I was that kid who was really fast when I was young. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do, and Flash was just, a favorite of mine. So I think and Bruce had said that, like, he said, it's really hard to do Flash stories because he's so, like, you can't stop him. Like, he's unstoppable and he's way too powerful. It's like, you try to do anything and he's already done it. Like, he's already beat you. So, so that was really interesting, even though, I think, the Flash in this series is super successful. I think in the previous series too, right?
Yeah.
So, I think it just came down to, also besides Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, they are really funny characters. And I think this was an opportunity to show like this lighter side, the lighter side of the Big Four, if that makes sense.
Oh, does it ever? I anytime there was lightness thrown in, it was just a joy. Because there was such a heaviness to these characters.
Oh yeah, and Dwayne was so good at making them real. And it's like, oh yeah, you actually believe these people are trying to protect the Earth. Like the stakes are always so high. So absolutely. Totally agree.
And we do get that great line from Little Kid Green Lantern when he's thinking about all the things he's going to make to battle Modred. I'm going to make a tank. No. I'm going to make a jet. And it's like, what would you do if you were a little kid with this power ring? You could do anything you want. And it's just, I love that moment because I think every child could relate to, yes, what would I build if I could build like a mecha, whatever I would want to do. It was just so good. I love that last battle between Green Lantern and Modred.
Oh, and that was right out of me reading Justice League, Neil Adams' Justice League when I was 12 years old. And I used to read the Green Lantern, Green Arrow, like team up book.
Yeah.
That was one of my go-to favorite. So that even writing that scene was so good. I'm like, oh, this is going to be such a blast to write. I can't wait to see how it's executed. So yeah, it was really fun.
Oh, I love that. I love that you had that, because what a special experience to have, that you had this childhood experience and then you grow up and as an adult, you're writing these characters.
Oh, it's a dream come true, but I have to correct you on one thing. I'm not grown up. And I don't think you are either, which I love. I think that's part of why we're so fortunate to do what we do, right? Is we've been able to just really stay in touch with who we are as kids, pretending, right? Pretend to be other characters, or like in writing the stories of, oh, if I was going to write a Superman story, he'd do this, you know? So yeah, you're so right that it's a dream come true to be able to, you know, continue to play like we're kids, right?
And that's why I like hearing people's origin stories, because there's so many people out there who wish they could do, you know, I mean, I'm sure I get asked all the time, you know, how do I get into voiceover? What do I do? How do I break into it? And, you know, I'm sure you get asked all the time, like, how do I write? How do I get into writing for these things? You know,
so
because...
can I, so all the people who ask me about voice acting, can I give them your number, your personal email? There's a lot. The good thing now is I just say, okay, just find Steve Bloom. He teaches a class, you know, and
yeah, no, for sure.
He's the one of the nicest men in the universe, but also like, you know, brilliant. But
brilliant.
Yeah,
and I gotta say, with Rebels, I know everybody. You know, so many people that worked on Rebels.
Oh, Vanessa, yeah,
forget about it.
I love her.
They had all these, like, they would do all these events together, especially at Comic-Cons, and I just thought, God, they you know, it's like a little family. I mean, they seemed so close, and I was so jealous that, because I'd never done Rebels, and I was like, what a great tight-knit group that is.
Oh, I'm sorry we didn't have you on as a guest, because you should have been.
No, I don't want to. I didn't mean to make it awkward. Like,
no,
I've been meaning
no, because I did put your name on a cast list for Clone Wars at one point. So, but you know what? It's like, you know, the politics of all of that stuff. It's just weird, you know. But you know, I would have. Anyway, so we'll work together.
I actually had Taylor Gray. Taylor Gray's on my radio show last year. He was out promoting a movie, and everyone's talking about the movie. And I brought up Rebels, and his face lit up. He goes, "Oh, he loved talking about Rebels."
Yeah, they have that Pot of Rebellion thing, but actually, it's funny. We've stayed in contact, you know, because I was in obviously every single record session with them as the head writer on that, and we had dinner like 2 weeks ago. So,
very nice.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I feel really fortunate that we've kind of like, you know, the Rebel family really has kind of stayed together.
That's what I mean. When I observe it, you know, I'm just like, wow, what a family. Because one of the gifts that this podcast has given me is that it's allowed me to talk with people that were my bosses, and it didn't, you know, you weren't going to hang out with Dan Reba after the session, or Bruce Timm or Andrea. I mean, certainly, I think Kevin was very close to them, to Andrea socially. He had a very personal relationship with Andrea, but for the most part, you know, you were separated by that glass, and it stuck. You know, you weren't palling around with these people. And one of the gifts that this has given us is to have these conversations and get to know people. I mean, James and I absolutely love Dan Reba. I mean, we love Stan Berkowitz. We love all of them. And we've gotten to know them pretty well. And in a way that I never knew them when I was working on the show. There wasn't that comfort level at all. And also I was so nervous most of the time, I wouldn't have felt like I could just go hang, it's just not appropriate. You didn't feel like that you could. So the fact that you had that dynamic with your actors, I love that.
I think we made an exception. I know that definitely after COVID has changed. We like, on every show I try to do this, is to have an ensemble, to make sure that we get people in the room at the same time as often as we can. So Rebels was, obviously it was pre-COVID, so there was no problem with that, but it was like something that we did. And it's like, oh no, we're waiting to make sure that we get everybody in the same room, because all of that stuff, that energy bouncing off each other, it really contributes. And having just them interact, between takes and like before, all of that is super important, to the family.
It is. And I should say the 7 of us, now the 6 of us, we've all stayed in touch where we have today's Michael Rosenbaum's birthday. I'll be,
awesome.
We all stay in touch. And I think we've gotten closer since Kevin died, just because we recognize, the bond that we all have and how, we need to hold it tight because life happens and we never know. But I think what I always appreciate about the Rebels group is that the powers that be and the actors had that special bond. And I love that, when you cross the line and it's not like boss actor, it's like everyone's just hanging. It seems cool to me.
Yeah. It's I think especially when you're doing, I want to say, these legacy huge IP franchise, the audience and so many millions of people feel ownership over the characters. It's definitely, there's an added level of pressure.
Sure.
That is underneath that. And even on the writing end too, like, oh, right. Like, this isn't Care Bears or whatever. I mean, I know Grumpy Bear is really important to a lot of people, but you know what I mean? Like,
I was always more of a tender heart bear myself, but that's I understand. I'm going with you there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I stayed really close with Ashley Eckstein, and I remember, like, when the Clone Wars movie came out in 2008, like I think Entertainment Weekly had this article that said, "Oh, the second worst Star Wars character is Ahsoka," and I was like,
"What?
Really?" And people thought, "Oh, she's super annoying," and "Oh, she's poochy," like early on. And it's weird because even Rebels got that too. Like, oh, Ezra is Space Aladdin. Oh, they can't believe they canceled Clone Wars for this crap, right? Where the goal of the Clone Wars really is, well, no, that series was always Ahsoka series. We know what happens to Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Vader, and everything. This is her story, and this young woman, 13, 14, I think when I first like described her as like in the development, is her being exposed. She's kind of grown up in the Jedi Temple, being exposed to the galaxy during a time of war. So all of these experiences and lessons she's going to have when the galaxy at its most, chaotic and in turmoil. So,
when we finally get that showdown with Ahsoka, and when she realizes who Vader really is, that one of my favorite episodes. And then you've got the voice of Tom Baker, for crying out loud, in your show. But I'm sorry, we're going to go down a Rebels path if I keep going.
We'll talk about that another time. We'll talk about
Ashley, and meanwhile, Ashley's a rock star.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
she's a rock star. No, I mean, there are very few people more popular than she is within the Comic-Con world. I mean, she's a rock star.
She took that role and made it into something like as an outreach to the fans, which like has blown everybody away, like expectations wise. But it's true to who she is. It's really her. Like, you can hear it, the integrity of the character and the honesty. She's so genuine. You hear that come out of the character. And anyway, I that's why you're my Wonder Woman, is because you have this strength that you like project through the character, but also there's like a approachability. Like there's a realness that I think that a lot of times when you don't always get that in animation. So anyway, it's why I know you've been Wonder Woman for so long. Is because you're perfect. So
thank you. Oh, thank you.
we should get to some listener questions too, Henry, because we always put out that we've got people on who our guest is, and we solicit questions. So a couple of these we've already answered. So if you're listening right now on Twitter at the Dork Knight 39, we've already kind of answered the question about which members of the league were decided upon for this story. We have similar questions about Jon Stewart's glasses and how they look a lot like Kyle Rayner's mask. We've got that from Movies to Watch Before You Die and from B. Cruzel, both on Twitter, kind of had similar questions about how that bit came up.
Yeah, I think that we had a joke where he went through a couple of different variations. You know, he had like the round spectacles, then he had I think he started with the Steve Urkel glasses. And you're like, oh, he's doing the Steve Urkel glasses, right? And then they kind of was like, no, these are cool. And then it was like, I think we wanted to set up him going from kind of like dorky to cool. Yeah. He's starting to feel the power of what he can do with the ring. So that's kind of what, you know, and a lot of people love that Kyle Rayner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool mask, you know. I remember thinking, like, how does that stay on his face, you know?
Not the most practical Green Lantern mask I've ever seen, but there we are.
That's great.
We've got another one from @Anthony3270. How would you approach writing this today, especially with lots of kids spending more time playing on tablets, phones, and less time outside like back in the day? Would you change anything with 20 years on?
I don't know. I mean, you know, kids still play soccer, right? And go bowling and, you know, hang out with their friends. I mean, you know, I don't know. I don't know if you've been to Disneyland lately, but I just add like 30,000 kids.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, you know, if we put Modred if he's sitting on his throne and he was like scrolling, you know, doom scrolling, that would be kind of funny, I guess. But yeah, I think still kids like to have fun, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's the other part of this story is about the freedom of that and what it means to be young. So, gosh, I'd have to think about it, but I don't think so. I think it's pretty close because again, this is a story about magic. It's about a wish fulfillment, right? So, I don't know. I'd probably write it the same way.
@SuperThorough94 just says they love this specific episode and asked about the original idea or inspired by, and we just kind of talked about that as well. So, SuperThorough94, your question has also been asked. We have @TheShinBatman84. Just has that quote that we mentioned. I haven't been a kid since I was 8 years old. That Susan mentioned. Mm-hmm. It's just such a standout quote from my favorite DC comic character. We've got. Let's see if I'm making.
I do have a content for that, yes. Which is my original line was, "I haven't been a kid in a long time." Like, and he was a little more kind of like I'm not bringing this up again kind of thing. Just like I haven't been. Like he was kind of more of a throwaway. I haven't been a kid for a long time. Bruce changed the line. He goes, no, I want him to make it a statement and make it clear. Which is why, if you notice, Wonder Woman immediately turns around and walks away. Mm-hmm. She leaves first. Because on some level, she realizes this is going to be a barrier, an obstacle to them and their future together. So the fact that she doesn't respond, like, you know, put a hand on the shoulder or anything, she just turns around and walks away. And then Superman and Green Lantern go after her.
@TheRealShoeman.
Watch it again and see, and you'll see there's a little more to that, which speaks to their relationship. So.
And we can't get enough Wonder Bat. Obviously, Susan has already mentioned that. It's what we love seeing those interactions. @TheRealShoeman wanted to know: did you speak with any children to get kind of the language of how kids would interact or anything like that, or was it just kind of did it come naturally?
This show isn't for kids. What are you talking about? I always write to please myself, and not to talk down to the audience. Mm-hmm. So it's if there's something specific, if we're making a specific reference to something, maybe you do that. But no, I think this show, even though there's technology in it and there's a lot of science fiction elements, it's written in such a way that it can be timeless. So you're not going, oh, this was obviously written in the 90s. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a, and I think that's the strength of it. Like
I think
when you watch the old...
I think that's a strength of any show, really. I think the moment you date yourself, it's problematic.
Yeah.
You know, yes, the fashions and the cars and all these other things will, but there are shows that you look at and you're like, wow, you just don't even feel like this is dated.
Right.
On my rewatch this time, though, I did notice that in the classroom, there is a picture of George W. Bush. It's clearly W on the wall.
Yes.
So other than that, I didn't catch it on the first watch through we did with Joaquin, but I saw it there on the wall this time. I was like, oh, that's W.
Yes, I actually saw it on my second watch, too, recently. So I was like, oh, my gosh, they actually put Bush on the wall. Okay.
Other than that, there's no dating. I love everything else.
I have no idea why. There's got to be a reason why. I'm going to have to hit up Bruce Tim 22 at whatever his Twitter is. I don't think he uses on Twitter.
He's not on. No.
I think that was all the listener questions I had. I mean, we could keep talking for a while, but I don't want to eat up too much more of your time. Susan, do you have anything else that I feel like I've dominated the conversation?
Oh, God, no. No, I was chatty. No, I mean, let's give Henry the last word. I mean, do you have anything you want to add to this conversation about the episode, or even just, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say that I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity to work on this episode, with you, Susan, and actually the crew. The big four. So for me, it was a dream come true to write those characters and tell a story that was kind of unusual, right? It was different. That it wasn't just, oh, it's another adventure, but it's something that, like you were saying, because it is so different, people do remember it. And I think there's a few episodes of the Justice League that are like that are like, oh, that people just really remember them because they strike a chord. But then, as I've learned in my 30 years of animation writing, a story that I might think is just a one-off for me, or that didn't really hit me hard, people will come up and go, oh my gosh, that episode of such and such was just what I needed to see in the moment. So I think anytime we can inject the emotional reality, the humanness of any situation, into our magic stories, we have a chance to make something that's enduring. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Gratitude to you guys for doing this.
Oh, thank you. My gosh, this is fantastic to have you. Like I said, we always get such great insights. It's always fun to have the voice actors on, but the insights we get from the writers and the directors just is unparalleled. So thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
And if people want to keep up with you, are you active on social medias? Any place, websites, or anything you want to send people to look for new projects?
I don't really do Twitter anymore, but I'm on. I'm Henry Gilroy 2047 on Instagram, and you'll occasionally see stuff on there that's related to my career and stuff. I'm not on there tons, but I'm going to be getting on there more often. I'm working on a couple of high profile shows coming up, and so please go to Henry Gilroy 2047 and check it out.
Perfect. This has been a huge treat for us to be able to have you on for this. So Henry Gilroy, thank you very much.
And, for such a small, like a short show, if I may, we've covered it twice with two different people. And it, like I said, at the Comic-Cons, this episode comes up all the time. So, as much of a treat as it was for you to write this episode and be able to do that, what a treat for the fans that you did, because it really holds a special place for so many people. And so well done. Really.
Oh gosh, thank you for saying, and thank you for sharing that. I am overcome with gratitude. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Nice to meet you, James.
You too. Yes. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thanks, Susan.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care. See ya.
What a fantastic guy. Wow, that was a lot of fun.
I loved that interview. he's a wonderful guest, and he had so much good stuff. I mean, I could have kept talking to him.
Yeah.
And
Same.
if, and it was hard to stay only on our show because, he has this incredible resume, and, I know the fans know him from other shows, Clone Wars, all these other things. What a lovely man.
Yeah. They're doing all these crossovers now with the different comic books. Like they're doing Justice League versus Power Rangers, Marvel versus Godzilla comics are coming out now. I would love to see them do like a Disney and DC crossover. Let's do Justice League versus Bionicles and have him write it. I mean, come on.
Look at you. Look at you being like
Just
a producer.
saying.
Yeah, I know. Well, have your people, once you have some, call his people.
The people are my mom, and they don't know how to use Zoom. Is this thing on?
Hey, I met your mom, and I loved your mom. I loved your mom. Your mom's amazing, and you tease her mercilessly, and she's such a great sport about it. She's so darling. Anyway, we thank Henry Gilroy for being with us today. That was just wonderful, and so we've done two episodes now on this kid stuff.
This one deserved to be covered twice. Not that there aren't other episodes that don't, but this one was like, oh my gosh, if we know we can get the writer of this one too, we have to do it again. This was a no-brainer.
Can I just tell you, I love being able to reach out to the writers and to talent or to anybody on social media and get a response. It's so dreamy because some of the people are just really difficult to track down.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much, Henry. That was so enjoyable. And what else do we got? What else you have?
Well, next up, people can, I think we're going to get Joaquin back on, hopefully, for Hawk and Dove, I think is our next episode after this.
Oh, wow.
So if you're listening right now, you've got that to look forward to. We're going to reach out to Joaquin and see if we can bring him back to cover Hawk and Dove, because we had such a great reaction to his debut on Justice League Revisited, covering kid stuff. So we'll see if we can get him back on.
All right. Well, okay. Stay tuned.
Yes.
All right. So that's the episode for today. Is this when we talk about our social media stuff?
We could do that. We could talk about that.
All right. You want to tell people how they can find you?
Well, yes. If you'd like to find me, if you're interested in finding me, you can look on any social media platform, which obviously includes Threads, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Geek to Me Radio. We can also tune in every Sunday night at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific for my live radio show with commercials. You can watch us on YouTube and Facebook. If you're in the greater St. Louis area and you just want to hear that AM crackle, we're on 550 AM on your radio dial. Otherwise, watch us on YouTube and on Facebook. Just hit the subscription link there on either one of those platforms so you follow us. But we've had some great interviews lately. We had John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, on. We had Michael Ironside, who voices Darkseid in this series.
Wow.
We've had some fantastic guests. We just covered Superman, the movie, the James Gunn movie, with Game Over Greggy. He joined us on the show.
I love that.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of stuff. So if you're interested in kind of what we do here, but on a larger level, like I said, we'll cover Clone Wars and we'll cover Bionicle and other stuff. So tune in every Sunday night and go to geektomeradio.com and subscribe on YouTube. I'd appreciate it.
Well done. And I love that AM crackle. I just love it. I love it. So for those of you who want to find me,
yes,
you can find me on Blue Sky and Instagram at Susan Eisenberg 1, the number 1. And you can also email me if you're so inclined from my website, SusanEisenbergVoice.com. And you can also find out what I'm up to on that. And I think that's it. Oh, and please, I know I ask every time, but it's really important. Please subscribe to the podcast and give us a review, because we want to know what your thoughts are and your feelings about the podcast, if you're liking it and what you're liking about it and all that stuff. So thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you loved it as much as we did. And please stay tuned, because the conversation continues.